But first, let's get off to the North Wessex Way once more. This incredible, wondrous Wiltshire road that for hundreds of years people didn't really know much about. And several people have tried to delve into the route between Oxford and Bristol, which was once giving passage to wayfarers and royalty and religious leaders and peasants, the whole lot, carts, horses, sheep, dogs. They were all working the way between Oxford and Bristol and back again, taking, years and years to get between the two. But it was expedited by this road, and a large tract of it comes through Wiltshire. But then it was just forgotten, like that. And until last year, I didn't have a clue about it, but David Mitchell listens to the show, he's in Minety, he said, let's go and find out a bit more about it, and I'll tell you and the listeners what I know. And in the years since then, last January and now, he's done even more delving and digging. Not physical digging, or maybe just picking up a few stones, that sort of thing, looking at them closely, like on all the good archaeology programmes, but metaphorically digging into the history of it. And he said, I reckon, Ben, I need to share a bit more with the listeners. So I've been off with David. You've heard us at Person Church, which David thinks was inspired when it was built by what was being built at the Abbey at Malmesbury down the road. It was a kind of sort of smaller scale version. And earlier we were walking along one of the wide footpaths that David thinks was some kind of bypass in Person. Now we're in Minety, where it seems the Romans, let me tell you, were, thanks to this North Wessex Way, prolific in making roof tiles for all their posh houses and baths and everything else in the spa city down the road. I'll tell you now, when we recorded this, it was horrendous. It was far too wet to get out of the car.
3 years ago, Cotswold Archaeology started a dig to uncover a Roman kiln. And they got very excited because what they found were broken tiles with a maker stamp on them of letters, LHS or TPFP. And they found these tiles all around the country when they were digging up Roman villas, but never knew where they came from. And they suddenly realised that Minety was where the vast majority of Roman roof tiles were being made for much of the south of England in Roman times. So they got very excited. So year one, they uncovered one kiln. By this summer, they'd uncovered three. They were going back earlier in time. So they found one that had been used up, and then they moved across, built another one. That had been used up. They moved across and built another one. And they found drainage and all sorts of things. So they were very excited. And it's a really significant find as far as Roman archaeology is concerned. Now, that means that Minety would have been a real centre of heavy industry in Roman times. It was ideally placed. It had clay from Minety, it had wood from the forest, the Braden Forest, to fire the kilns. But you would have had a large number of people involved in that operation all year round to produce tiles, because it was producing something like 20,000 tiles a year. And they were going off to places as far as Bath or Silchester down in Hampshire, or up to Cirencester. Now, I got thinking, as I'd researched the North Wessex Way, how did they get those tiles out from Minety to places like Bath or Silchester? Now, you could go north up to Cirencester and then from there onwards, but you've got to cross the Swilbrook and the Thames, and even now you can very rarely get across there if it's rained heavily because the floods are there. So I thought, well, the North Wessex Way only runs 1.5 miles, 2 miles south of where the kiln site is. Was there a route that they took the tiles out down to the North Wessex Way, then they could go west down to the Fosse Way, the other side of Malmesbury, and then straight down to Bath, or they could go east, past Purton, up to Blunsdon, and then join the Ern Street, which would take them down to Silchester. That would be an obvious way of them getting it out. So then I started looking at locally in Minety as to, are there some obvious routes that could have connected the kiln site and the North Wessex Way. Now, running north from the North Wessex Way, there's a dead straight byway that comes up on the B404 at Dog Trap Lane, and I've often wondered why there was a dead straight byway that seemed to go nowhere. But if you follow the line of that byway, it takes you almost directly to the kiln site. I can show you on this map here. So there's the North Wessex Way, there's the dead straight byway, and you follow it on, and there's the kiln site. So my theory is that they would have made the tiles at the kiln site. They wouldn't have wanted hundreds of pack horses or carts going down to the kiln site because it's all clay. So they'd have taken the finished tiles up to the top of the ridge, had some sort of distribution centre waiting for the next pack horse train or cart to come along and load them up and send them off to a customer. Down this byway to the North Wessex Way, and off they go.
So much to read on his website, David's wessex.co.uk.